It's not any new news whenever you hear that the most common camera for anybody to shoot on is your phone. So today we're talking 4 different tips about how you can make your iPhone photos and videos look better. Going into number 1, it's all about specs. So when we talk specs, we'll talk video first. What you're gonna wanna do to change these specs to optimize them to be the absolute best is go into your settings, and then you're gonna scroll down until you see camera. Go ahead, click on record video. So right here, you want 4K 60 frames per second. What will that do? Higher resolution, so instead of 1080, you get 4K, which is actually 4 times the amount of pixels, so higher resolution. And then it'll go 60 frames per second, because it'll just make everything smoother. The biggest thing is whenever you go into your camera and you see photos right here, you wanna click this raw up top. The files are gonna be bigger, but there's gonna be more data if you plan on editing them. This is going to get you the biggest file, so if something's blown out, something's underexposed, you can recover it easily. Which leads me to the next point. Make sure everything is properly exposed. But how do you do that? Everything seems to be very automatic on an iPhone. You're gonna look off to your view. If everything looks good, you're good to go. But if it's not, you got 2 different options here. You can click on what you want to be in focus and then drag up or drag down. You see as I drag up here, this sky up here gets blown out. You see if I drag down, well, you're losing a lot of data in those mountains. If you don't want to do that, if it's confusing on what you want to look best, you're gonna click this drop down right here, and then you're gonna click this plus minus where you can adjust your exposure. Really doing the same thing, but just an easier way for you to see the minor adjustments that you're making. So you have your shot framed up, but it doesn't look quite right. Exposure's ready to go, everything's ready to go, but you want it to be a little bit tighter. Don't be afraid of the 3x or the 0.5. So we look off in the distance here. If we want to go 3x, boom, that looks better to me than 1. We're closer to those mountains, that's what we want to see. Go ahead, snag that photo. Go back to 1, snag that, and then we go to 0.5. 0.5 is super common these days since these iPhones have gotten it, but something to keep in mind is that the resolution with the 0.5 lens is actually about 1/4 of what it is on the 1x mode. So that's just the different cameras can capture different resolutions there. If it is what looks best right here, then use it. But if 1x looks better, you know you're gonna be able to crop in more, and if 3x looks better, it is the best thing to do. The last thing we're going to talk about is utilizing foreground and background elements. This can help you just make your photos more dynamic. What we're going to do is we're going to take a photo of this scene. So you see my screen right now, it's lacking. There's nothing in the foreground. I just don't like what I'm looking at. So what we can do, we can back up and use these gates that you see right here, go a little bit lower, but I don't want this concrete. It doesn't look very naturey. So we can get a little bit of that. We know we're gonna end up cropping it out, and we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna snap that photo. We know that that gate and the mountains are both in the frame. That is a huge thing, because even if we're doing a video here, we can go in 1x mode, and we're gonna start walking. We see the gates in the foreground, and then we go to the mountain. More dynamic. If it's just the mountains, it's boring. If it's just the gate, it's really boring. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if this helped you. I have a lot of other tutorials that I think will do the exact same. If you're trying to get into photo, video, go ahead, subscribe. It supports me and it'll help me put out more videos in the future. Peace.